Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Are you looking for a partner that truly gets digital? At Herd at Marketing, we were born digital. It's not just what we do, it's who we are. From cutting-edge AI solutions to innovative advertising strategies, we lead our clients into the future with technologies that deliver real, measurable results. With over 15 years of lasting partnerships, we're proud to help businesses achieve their goals and maximize ROI every step of the way. If you're ready to take your marketing to the next level, visit herdatmarketing.com today. Herd at Marketing, where digital meets results.
I knew it. Another Herd at Media production.
Hi, Shantel.
Hey, Roxanne.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I feel like we've podcasted a lot, by the way.
Yeah, and we're about to have to podcast a lot more because your girl's leaving again.
Yeah, Shantel is like going out of town next week, the following week. So we're going to have to do it like all in a row.
I know. So it's going to feel like a lot. It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, guys. Well, today our episode is going to be a little bit different because I know that the podcast typically focuses on reality shows, but the last 2 weeks, nothing's really been going on with Bravo. None of the shows have been airing because of the holidays. So I got invested in the Justin Blake Lively drama, and I started putting things up on X that led to millions of views on each post, and many requested that Shantel and I dive into. Why did I say that? Yeah.
No.
That was scary. That Shantel and I dive into the controversy, the lawsuits, what's going on with Justin and Blake. So we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to go into the lawsuits, the text messages, the people involved, all the parties, what's next, as of January 6th, and then go from there. Are you excited for this episode?
Yeah, it's really funny. I know it's like not about the movie. I mean, it's a lot about the movie, but like I'm an OG Colleen Hoover, fan, like her books.
Okay.
And have you read any of her books?
No, I don't really like read books.
Yeah.
I mean, the books that I read was one that you recommended, and I don't know what happened to it.
Well, if you want to start from the beginning, like let's start from when she actually published this book, which was 2016.
Okay, well, so she published. Okay, so wow, so he reached out to her 3 years after that.
Yeah, because that's in 20. Like this is only you guys. This is like all the facts I know is like 2016, and then I'll comment my thoughts. But 2016, she published a book. 2019, he asked for the rights to like do a movie for this, and then 2022, she ended up writing the second book, the sequel, which I think he also wanted as well. And then, yeah, I don't know what.
I'm interested to see. So we're gonna dive into a lot. Like I put a lot together. I'm interested to see what you think of Colleen Hoover after this. Yeah. Like I want to know if your opinion changes or if it doesn't. And
also, Roxanne, keep in mind she has so many books, and this is her first book that's a movie. Like Nicholas Sparks, how he has so many movies like into his books. I know he was the best, like the best rom-coms. But yeah, so like, isn't that like, it's just sad to think about like that this is your first adaptation and like, look what has happened.
So I think they just cast for one of her books with Anne Hathaway and some other actors. Okay. So yeah.
Her second book is Verity, and it's like, not. Yeah, her second book is like a thriller. Well, this is like her only book that's a thriller, which is crazy. It was like one of her best books, but she's usually just like a romance book. And so that movie's gonna be nuts because that book was crazy.
There's some controversy surrounding her and her backing her son who was involved with a minor that went, so I don't have many details on it, so I'm not gonna talk on it, but I keep seeing on TikTok all the comments of like, oh, Colleen, the same person who, and I'm like, oh my God, like, this world is so scary,
Yeah,
Shantel.
you can't get away with anything. So if you want to become famous, you better
Yeah,
be squeaky clean and stay squeaky
exactly.
clean.
I know, I swear. So before we dive into the Blake Justin lawsuit, all the complaints, you're going to hear of Heath quite a bit. His name is Jamie Heath, and he is the producing partner of Justin Baldoni. And in Blake's initial complaint, she says that she was repeatedly sexually harassed. And mainly every time she talked about it, it was interactions with Jamie Heath. And what's crazy is with, a lot of people ran with these examples that she listed and just used Justin Baldoni being the one behind it. But anyways, Heath denies all of it, and we're going to dive into it, but you're going to hear his name a lot. So I just wanted to make you aware. And I already know Chantel's going to be like, wait, so who's Heath? So I actually sent Chantel pictures of who everyone is.
Yeah. And then when you say producing partner, like only for this movie or like all his stuff that he does?
I have no idea. I
Okay.
just know. You always ask me those questions where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. So someone's gonna have to tell us that because I did not investigate that part. So okay, how it all started, Chantel was kind of touching on it, the end, or so Chantel, did you read it before it even got picked up as a movie?
Yeah, I probably read it in like 2017, honestly.
And was it good to you?
So good. And like I was because like the movie, like if anyone watches the movie, it's like not really like the same. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like, and I was younger, a little bit younger, and I don't know, reading romance novels are just like different than watching it. Sometimes it's more cringy when you watch it than you read it. But it was such a good book to
Okay.
me. People either hate her or love her, but it's like depending on what like novels you like to read. But I think she's a good writer, and I'm always like, I can read her books within 24 hours. That's when I know I'm invested and I like a book.
Okay. I mean, okay, we're not here to promote. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I've only ever heard great things about the book though. Like I've only heard amazing things about It Ends With Us, the book. So, and another thing that's gonna get mentioned throughout this episode is Wayfarer Studios. And that's an independent production company that develops, finances, produces original content for film. And the co-founders are Justin Baldoni and Steve. I don't know how to say his last name. Schwartz, I don't know. But Steve is a billionaire. So I just want to make that clear to you guys that he is a billionaire. Okay.
No, he's definitely behind the money of the
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of like how this lawsuit is probably happening. I don't know. Okay. So anyway, so this book is by Colleen Hoover. Justin Baldoni is an actor director. He was in that show. What is that Virgin show? Do you remember what it was called?
Oh, Jane the Virgin?
Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, a little bit actually.
So he was in it, and he actually officiated the wedding for Gina Rodriguez, which was the main actress. And you know what? I actually want to watch it because I've heard good things about it. So Justin Baldoni acquired the rights to It Ends With Us through his production company, Wayfarer Studios. And the process started after he read the novel by Colleen and he felt a deep emotional connection to its story. So he was moved. He's very emotional. He was moved by the complex relationships, personal growth, the overcoming trauma. And he's known for acting. And he does have some work in director and producer. I think he did a film which was like this really sad film. And I don't know why I think it's one of the brothers from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. I don't know why I think it's one of them that was in the film, and I could be wrong, but
oh my God, like the one where they were sick and like they
yes. Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah. Okay. So I was right about that. I didn't know if it was. I was kind of scared, but okay, good. So he reached out to Colleen Hoover to express his admiration for the book, and she was initially cautious about allowing it to be a film, given it being really, the deeply personal subject matter, which is about domestic violence. And Justin's passion and understanding of the novel's theme convinced her that he was the right person to bring the story to the big, screen. So him and his production company then worked to secure the film rights with the goal of making it a respectful and impactful movie. And he also took on the role of directing the film alongside, being the star of the film, which I really am curious how that came about.
Oh, so I have read that. She told him, like, I want you to be Riley. Like, I want you to be the main guy. And she convinced him, and she kind of said, like, you're not going to get the movie if, like, you're not Riley. Like, it won't be the same if you're not Riley.
Oh my gosh, that is so interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So So Justin's worked directly with Colleen since 2019. They were so close. They have videos together. It came across as like a beautiful bond between them. So I went back on his TikTok and I looked at all the old videos, and he like hung out with her like she was a friend. You know, this took 5 years in the making. So he really hung out with her. They were like
But
hugging each
also, like,
other.
there was the writer's strike. That's why it was like,
No, but the writer's strike happened before. So the movie starts filming, the writer's strike happens, and then goes back. But I'm talking about before the writer's
okay.
strike happened. He has, for 3 years, has this amazing relationship with Colleen Hoover, and they're both talking, you know, highly of each other. She always had positive things to say about him prior to Blake Lively being cast in It Ends With Us. She expressed her admiration for him. She talked about his passion, sensitivity, his respect for source material. And then, you know, she even, you know, talked about when he first reached out that she was just really impressed by his deep emotional connection to the story and his commitment to handling the sensitive theme with care. So that's exactly what she thought. In fact, Colleen said that Justin's genuine understanding of the material and his desire to portray the story responsibly is what won her over. So she felt he was the perfect person to bring the novel to screen in a way that would honor its themes, the emotional depth, and all that. So Blake Lively, and this was in 2019. So Blake Lively was officially cast in August of 2022. She was chosen to play the lead role of Lily Bloom. And this was very controversial because people, yeah, you can talk about why it was controversial.
Yeah, like, because, well, first of all, in the story, these the main characters, like, after they grew up, were really young. They were like in their mid-20s, and they were like, you know, going through their passions and whatever. So like when she casted both, like, you know, Justin and Blake, they're like both in their mid-30s, like,
Yeah.
or even like late 30s, right? Like, how old
I
are
think
they?
so. They're late 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like
She's
shocking
like
to all of us.
37. Blake Lively's like 37, I think.
Yeah, so it's shocking to all of us to like see that there was two older people in the movie when the book was based on two younger people. They were like 15, 16, and then they grew up to be like 25, 26, like in their late 20s, and these people are in like their late 30s. And so we were all just shocked that we like expected someone younger, like when you're reading something. And so like that's why it was so shocking. Like no one liked that them two were the characters, not one person.
I don't think people knew Justin Baldoni as much, whereas in Blake Lively, a lot of people, just this Lily Bloom character meant a lot to them. So, you know, a lot of people could relate to her. So when it was Blake Lively, I think a lot of people, it kind of ruined it for them a little bit, just because, like you said, it's not what they envisioned at all for Lily Bloom.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah. So,
and we know, and then the thing is too, is like she did end up coming out with her second book in like 2022. So like you get to know more of their character, Lily, and like all of them. So you really fall in love with these characters when you've reading 2 books of them, you know, so you like learn more about them. And she did not, and like she's not that person to be Lily Bloom. Like, you know, I think there's a girl, like her actress name is like Lily, is it Ryan or something? Like she would have been perfect, I think, for it.
Lily Reinhart, is she?
Am I saying it right?
No, there is a person named Lily Reinhart, but if it's who I'm thinking, no, there's no way, Chantal, you're thinking of the wrong person.
Oh, Emma. No, she's an American actress.
No, yeah, I know, but the one with the blonde hair, she was in she dated one of the Sprouse brothers.
Yeah.
I would never think her. I keep seeing on TikTok like all these like redhead actresses that people.
Oh yeah, that's weird too. Oh my god, no, there is. Oh my god, okay, yeah, keep going. There was like someone like
I don't know her name, but like she did look like, I keep seeing her pop up on TikTok, and I'm like, she would be the perfect cast.
Yes, yep, exactly.
Well, there's no way that it's Lily. No,
no, it's not.
Okay, so Filming It Ends With Us began filming in May of 2023, and It Ends With Us premiered in theaters on August 9th, 2024. The only controversy that I saw and heard of prior to the premiere was Blake Lively being cast, in that the style Lily Bloom, aka Blake Lively, was caught wearing from paparazzi, people were not happy with. So the backlash regarding Blake wearing items from her own closet during the press tour and throughout the movie, it stemmed like a debate about how she approached her role and the movie's themes, because the serious subject matter of domestic abuse. What did you think about the wearing expensive or glamorous outfits from her personal wardrobe as Lily Bloom?
Yeah, it's weird because Lily was like she was like a mediocre average, like she grew up average, like she wasn't rich. And then even when she became older, she wasn't rich. Like she was dating someone that was rich, you know, like a surgeon. So it was weird that like that was something that she wanted to portray and do. And I did see where this was like this is before any of this drama happened, because like everyone was talking about the fashion. I remember Colleen was like, I never really made an emphasis about her clothes in the book. So she's like, I didn't really care what they wanted to do about the fashion and the thing. But like the fact that that was such a big theme was weird, because no one cared about their clothes in the book at all. It was never a thing in the book.
Well, someone wrote, Lily is portrayed as a woman who experiences personal hardship and emotional turmoil. And some felt that Blake's wardrobe choices during the promotion of the movie didn't align with the raw, grounded nature of the character. So I think that's what it is like she would not be someone who's wearing $3,000 boots. She's not going to be someone who's wearing a $5,000. So, and that also makes me question.
But can you like, do you really like when we're watching a movie, unless like it's like a brand, how do you know it's like $5,000?
Well, I mean, a lot of her bottoms like had the red stuff. So I mean, like, I won't know, but clearly there was an uproar and people knew.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just like you said, that's not what the actress was portrayed to be, or Lily Bloom was portrayed to be. She wasn't portrayed to be someone who has really nice clothes. And it became a topic of discussion because Blake constantly spoke about what she wore and how it was from her closet. So for me, when you even say that Colleen was like, I never really thought about her clothes, I'm like, okay, but your readers who connected to her did. Like, so why are you saying that, But okay, so anyways, so if you're on TikTok, you know that once people start questioning things, it becomes a trend on TikTok where everyone has an opinion, and then it's so popular. Like there was like this nurse thing that just happened about this nurse who treated her son wrong, and everyone on TikTok just gets together and they start like finding old videos and investigating. TikTok, we don't need an FBI anymore if you have TikTok. Like there's no need for it. So there's always like a trend where everyone hops on and finds out past videos and tries to expose it. And I mean, TikTok is very popular. So when people saw interviews of Blake Lively saying she styled Lily Bloom and a lot of her clothes, her boots, people started questioning her and then started looking up past interviews. And then what created more question was the fact that Justin Baldoni, who is the director and the lead actor in the film, he didn't pose with anyone on set at the premiere. And then he went to the premiere at a different time. So everyone's like, what is going on? And then when they both did interviews for press, Justin's approach was often sharing his deep emotional connection to the story and its themes. He would talk about his personal investment in the project, as he's been vocal about his desire to direct films that explore important, often, difficult emotional experiences. And then Justin stressed how he wanted to honor Colleen Hoover's novel and its portrayal of sensitive themes like domestic abuse, and how he just wanted it to be where I approached this with great care. And then he also addressed the fact that, as a male director, it was important for him to listen to and understand the experiences of women because, he's not a woman, he's a man. So he always talked about how important it was for Blake Lively to hear what she had to say about things. And he would just praise her. And I thought that was nice. So I'm like, okay, they're good, and then he just wanted to, and he constantly talked about how he wanted the film to resonate deeply with viewers who might relate to Lily's journey. So throughout this, again, he's constantly praising Blake Lively. As for Blake, during her interviews, it was more focused on promoting her new hairline and fashion choices, including wearing, again, items from her own wardrobe during press events, during filming. That just became a talking point in the interviews. And while some defended her style as part of her personal expression, some of the criticism was directed at how glamorous the image might seem out of place for a movie dealing with such serious themes. And despite the backlash, Blake defended her right to wear what made her comfortable and confident while promoting the film, arguing that her fashion choices were separate from her performance and message of the film, which I agree with that. I think for me, the Lily Bloom wardrobe is what I go into question.
Yeah. Like you're saying, like whatever she's wearing, like on press tour, has nothing to do with
it.
I
don't care about that. Yeah. I know that she was
like, she like went and took this. It's like, I mean, it's like a stylist. She probably went into the stylist and said, like, let's wear everything flowers. Cause like, she has a flower shop. So she's like, let's do it up, So that's like probably what everyone was just so mad at. Cause it's like, I think she glamorized the film and he didn't. So everyone's like, why are you glamorizing this film?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So some critics felt that her interviews focused more on her personal connection to the character rather than engaging with the real life issue of abuse. And this is, and for Colleen, even in the beginning where she says I didn't want to like anyone to have this movie. This is an important matter. You have to talk about this in the right way. And, she did that on her own where she wasn't doing that. Some people felt that she didn't speak enough about the significance of the subject matter and the responsibility of portraying such a delicate and important narrative. And there was a specific interview, guys, where Blake does, and she comes across very insensitive. The man interviewing asks how she would react if someone if someone wants to come up to you and they want to talk to you and thank you and they've been through domestic violence, what would you say? And she jokingly said, and she starts laughing, how are they going to reach out to her? Do you want me to give you my number? Do you want the address to my house? Like, where are they coming up to me? And the joke was made in the context of discussing the film's serious themes, including domestic abuse, but it was seen as just really inappropriate and tone deaf because she was like, okay, do they want me to give them my address, my phone number? Did you ever see that interview?
She tries to be too sarcastic because like her husband is or something, and it just doesn't. Yeah. It didn't land with everyone. Wait, I have a question real quick. During this part when we're all seeing this, like this was happening like the summer before like the movie, before the movie is appearing. Have they unfollowed each other at this point?
So yeah, we're gonna talk about the unfollowing. Yeah.
I'm just curious if this is now, if it was during that time or it was after.
It was during this time though.
Okay.
Like during the time of the press interviews, like her saying, what, do they want my address?
Yeah.
So that's when the wrath of TikTok comes out and all of these past interviews of Blake Lively comes out. Like her being rude to interviewers, her being rude to Leighton Meester from Gossip Girl. They filmed that show for 10 years, and Leighton Meester and Blake Lively, it was known, they did like a special where the director spoke about how they were just two different people and didn't really get along. And then you see the interviews of Blake Lively kind of making Leighton Meester uncomfortable and her just staying back while she, those people who make jokes at your expense?
Yeah.
That's what Blake was doing to Leighton. So all those interviews start coming out, and it was basically her getting canceled, while Justin Baldoni, on the other hand, anyone who has ever worked with him said positive things, and people were praising Justin for how he was responding to the story. And then Blake and Colleen unfollowed Justin. So this is, they're doing press. They haven't gone to the premiere just yet. And they unfollow him. And that's when TikTok really goes crazy. Because on one hand, all we see is Justin praising Blake and Colleen, and he has nothing but great things to say about them. And then in, past videos, all we see is like Colleen hugging Justin. They're so close. Like, what the hell could have happened? And then when Blake does interviews, she's coming across annoyed, and kind of, you could tell like, okay, something is off. Something happened behind the scenes. And when they're asking like, how was it to work with Justin Baldoni? She's just talking about the movie as a whole and not talking about him. So articles then come out, one specifically saying that Justin Baldoni fat shamed Blake Lively, who had just had her fourth baby prior to filming. And at this point, Blake's hairline that she was promoting has nothing but bad reviews. She's no longer speaking about It Ends With Us, and people are very much team Justin. This was after the premiere, which, by the way, Justin Baldoni did not come to he came to the premiere after them, and there was like two separate premieres. So they weren't with each other, and we'll find out more about why that happened. But of course, then people are like, why is the crew not taking a photo with the director and the lead actor? What the hell is happening? Why is it separately? But let's talk lawsuits. So a few days before Christmas, right when It Ends With Us lands on Netflix, it was like the day of, TMZ reveals that Blake Lively has declared legal war on Justin Baldoni. And it wasn't an actual lawsuit. It was a legal complaint. And just so you know, I want everyone to know this. When a legal complaint is filed, it's never released to the public. So just keep that in mind. So
I also did read, but I don't know how true this is that I think in the state of California, you have to file a legal complaint first, and then you could go do whatever after.
I don't know. I didn't read that.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. All I know is that it was a legal complaint, and a legal complaint it never goes to public. So no one should have ever saw it, heard about this legal complaint, nothing. And maybe that is the case, but it being public is what the problem is. How did that get public if she was, her lawsuit was going to end up getting public? Why did this get public? So, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So back to the legal complaint. It laid out her allegations of sexual harassment, and I do feel like anytime sexual harassment is spoken about, especially this day and age, you're canceled immediately, no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I was like, holy shit, that's a serious accusation. And I started, listening to Justin Baldoni's podcast and all these things. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. But I was like, let me read what her lawsuit says. And what she claims is that Justin also had a coordinated effort to destroy her reputation. And Justin, fired back, and he was like, he called the allegation the false attempt to rehab her reputation. What Blake says in the complaint was that things got so bad during filming, there was an all hands on deck meeting to address what she claims was a hostile work environment. Ryan Reynolds, Blake's husband, was among the attendees, which I thought was weird because being in HR, I've been in HR for 11 years now. If there is something serious happening, while we would all love for our husbands to be there to back us, that's not real life. That doesn't happen. That's when HR people get involved. Each HR company has like a different way of titling it or whatever, but it's taken very seriously, and your husband would not be allowed to be there. Okay. So that was a big red flag to me as to why Ryan Reynolds was there. It just did not make sense at all, because in the real world, that does not happen. And again, coming from someone who's in HR for the last 11 years, would never, ever happen. They would probably fire you for trying to get your husband involved. Like, what the hell are you doing? So the lawsuit lists the demands that were addressed. She says because of Justin Baldoni's conduct, among those demands, she wanted no more showing nude videos or images to women to Blake. So she's accusing them of doing that. No more mention of Justin Baldoni's alleged previous pornography addiction. No more discussions about sexual conquest in front of Blake and others. No further mention of cast and crew's private part. No more inquiries about Blake's weight, and no further mention of Blake's dead father. The complaint claims that the demands were embraced and approved by the studio, but there was a huge conflict over how it would be marketed. Blake wanted more of an upbeat pitch about her character's resilience as per the marketing plan, whereas Justin wanted the focus to be on domestic violence and choose to go off script from the plan. And again, what I want to point out is that the reason Colleen Hoover chose him was because of his take on things, but she wanted Justin to focus on it on a sensitive way. So it's interesting to see her side with Blake, who was like, I want an upbeat pitch about it, because it's not an upbeat situation. Blake claims that Justin and his company then engaged in social manipulation campaign to destroy Lively's reputation. The complaint includes text from Baldoni's publicist to the studio publicist, which says Baldoni wants to feel like Miss Lively can be buried and, quote, we can't write, we will destroy her, end quote. And we'll talk about these as well. So Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, lashed out at the complaint, saying it was designed to fix her negative reputation, adding that the claims are false, outrageous, intentionally salacious with an intent to publicly hurt. The attorney goes on to say that Blake was a nightmare on set, threatening to not show up to set, threatening to not promote the film, ultimately leading it to its demise during the release. The reason that we were all able to see the complaint is because the New York Times came out with an article that reveals what Blake Lively went through on set. Keep in mind, New York Times is a paid service, so you can't view any article unless you pay them. Before this article that Blake Lively worked with, obviously for them to release, they took off the paywall so that you could read the entire thing and read the 80-page complaint for free. And the title was, quote, we can bury anyone inside a Hollywood smear campaign. They also had text in the article and emails between Justin, public relations executive Jennifer Abel, and crisis management expert Melissa Nathan. These messages appear to show that the three of them sought to create like a plan to deal with social media speculation and provide protection to Justin. In Blake's complaint, Blake claims that filming It Ends With Us became so uncomfortable that an all-hands meeting, which included her husband, again, Ryan, was held to address Justin and producer Jamie Heath's alleged inappropriate conduct. And during the meeting, according to the complaint, Baldoni and Heath were asked to stop showing nude videos and images of women to Lively and others to stop discussing their past. Lively also requested that Baldoni and Heath stop describing, again, their private parts. And according to the Times, Lively and the other cast members had informed Sony and Wayfarer, the movie's distributor and studio, that they would not do any appearances alongside Justin. Okay. So this is all like Blake stuff. She also claims that Justin tried to add a graphic sex scene without her consent, which saw her character orgasm on camera. And according to the complaint, he defended the scene, saying it wanted the characters to orgasm together on their wedding night, which he said was important to him because he and his partner climax during intercourse, Lively claims, which is very scary. Like, I don't want to know any of this. Is it like,
Yeah, like this, none of that matters for a film. So like that's weird in general.
right. Yeah. What really weird. So Lively claims that Justin proceeded to ask personal details about her and her husband, Ryan Reynolds' relationship. Also, Blake accuses Justin and producer Jamie Heath of pressuring her to perform certain acts of scenes that weren't originally in the script. For example, Blake alleges that on the day of filming of the first scene, they pressured her to full nudity for the scene, despite no mention of nudity for the scene in the script, her contract, or in her previous creative discussions. Baldoni defended his reasoning, saying it's not normal for women to keep their hospital gowns on while giving birth. That's what Blake Lively is claiming. At one point, Blake claims Heath came up to her and showed her an assistant a fully nude video of his wife giving birth. I will like to say that I definitely had my gown on when giving birth. So
Yeah.
this is her claim, but
I was there in Roxanne's room.
yeah, she recorded it, and it's a very scary video that's very unflattering that no one would ever see. Blake's complaint claims there were multiple inappropriate interactions she had with Justin and Heath, including Justin suggesting to her during a car ride that he had previously engaged in sexual conduct without consent. These are strong ass accusations, by the way. So if you're going to accuse someone of this, I hope that she has receipts to back these up, because this is like intense, or at least has like a third party who will come forward and be like, yeah, I did hear that, you know? On the first day of filming, she alleges that Justin and Heath also described their past sexual relationships.
First day of filming, like, whoa.
Yeah. They also described their past relationships to her, as well as discussed their previous porn addictions, which I don't think I wrote about this, but in Justin's response, he says he has never once ever spoke about that on set or ever to anyone on there. In fact, he's only ever opened up about it on a podcast from years ago that she took and put on there. So that was his response to that. I don't think but just because it's coming up, I don't know why I didn't write about that. Additionally, the suit alleges that Justin would often refer to a woman on set as sexy, including Blake. The complaint states that another cast member also filed a sexual harassment complaint in May 2023 about Justin's gross and unwanted comments towards her and others. That's never been proven. No one knows.
Where is that?
Nothing about that has come out. Blake alleges that Heath and Baldoni also entered her hair and makeup trailer unannounced on multiple occasions while she was getting dressed. And on one occasion, Heath walked into her trailer while she was topless, having body makeup removed by makeup artists to discuss a matter. Though Blake asked him to keep his back turned, she noticed that he kept staring at her directly. When she called him out, Blake claims he just brushed her off. Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath were also constantly hugging and touching cast and crew. The complaint reads, when Blake or others avoided this touching, Justin and Mr. Heath would retaliate by becoming irritated, cold, and uncollaborative. The result was an unwelcoming environment for Blake and her employees and others on set. So employees are, I would think, I don't know. We'll talk about some of the employees that have sided with her, but all we know so far is that the crew member has come out and has been on Justin's side. So that's what we know. So after this comes out, basically people were quick to flip. I was like, holy hell. Like,
well, it was like very, like, it was a lot, like reading that. You're like, whoa, like that's disgusting. You know, like what we have seen from Justin's side, because Blake has been silent. Like she was silent up until this point. Like you just kept seeing things from Blake's, or Justin's PR. Yeah. Like keep going and going. And like, you didn't see anything from her. So like they were clearly doing this on the low, and this was their plan, like all along, is to like strike.
And this is what she was like, but the funny thing is this what she's accusing Justin of doing. So it was shocking, though, I will say, for people to flip that quick, but also like very fishy. And this is my opinion. I'll always stand my opinion. I'm not someone who's like, I'm going to believe a woman just because she said it. I'm going to believe a man just because he said it. I'm going to believe people, and that's it. And this was all so confusing because Blake says Ryan was on set majority of filming, but then these things happen. So I was confused because I'm like, how could any of this happen if your husband's on set with you? And it's not like he's just like, you know, working a job, like he's with you on set. So following her complaint, Justin, who was awarded at Vital Voices event celebrating men who elevate women, his award gets taken back immediately. So they take the award from him. without getting his response or anything. So Merry Christmas to him. And then Blake comes out saying, I hope that my legal action helps pull back the curtain on these sinister tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct and helps protect others who may be targeted. Brian Friedman, Justin's attorney, then says, audiences found Blake's own actions, interviews, and marketing during the promotional tour distasteful and responded organically to that which the media themselves picked up on. He defended the PR company involved, saying Tag PR operated as any other crisis management firm would when hired by a client experiencing threats by two extremely powerful people with unlimited resources. And they're talking about Blake and Ryan being that power couple. So let's get into the timeline. And this timeline was from independent.com. So December 2020 or December 24, 2024, obviously, Blake was unable to make Saturday Night Live appearance due to this complaint. In Blake's complaint, her lawyer claimed she was unable to continue with other work because of the backlash she was receiving as a result of Justin Baldoni's campaign. This included the opportunity to host the season 50 premiere of SNL, which was instead hosted by Gene Smart. So she's obviously not very happy about that. Brandon Scalini, whatever, the young guy on the, what was it? What's his main character's name? Chantel, Lily Bloom's like boyfriend, or who was doing it?
I forgot his name, but I know who you're talking
Raphael?
about. No.
Okay, I don't know why I thought that. Whatever. The person who played Justin Young in the film, and I don't know his name, I'm sorry. He played the teenage love interest in It Ends With Us. He shared a link to her complaint and he captioned the Instagram post, for the love of God, read this, adding a red heart emoji, also tagging Blake Lively. So he's on her side, okay? December 24th, Justin Baldoni's podcast co-host leaves the show because of the complaint. Her name, journalist and author Liz Plank. She's a longtime co-host of the Man Enough podcast, announced her departure following allegations of misconduct against Justin Baldoni. And she says, as this chapter closes for me, I remain committed to the values we built together. We all deserve better. And I know that together we can create it. And I don't know about you, Chantal, but I'm a little grossed out by this because they were friends, very, very close friends. She stayed with him on this podcast until now. And it goes to show you that everyone just cares about themselves in Hollywood, because she could have stood by him until she heard his side at least. And then once she heard his side, and let's say it does go to court, then walk away from it. But for her to, this is like a longtime friend of yours. You've been like, that's like me and you, Chantal. Like you hear something about me and then you leave before you even allow me to say my side and my truth. And I don't know. I just thought that was so shitty.
It's just so crazy how fast things can happen. It's like you get one accusation and like people will drop you. Like I remember that when that all happened with Stassi and everyone, it's like they drop you from everything. Like you're literally like starting from scratch. Like you're zero at that point.
I mean, we've learned, Chantal, trolls are scary and they're intense. We've had to deal with trolls and I get it. They do it times a billion. So I get it.
At the end of the day, like for me, like with this, from this part, like, yeah, his PR team probably kept putting up feeding stories, but everyone in the universe kept digging up her past. So like your actions are the reasons why people think that you're like annoying celebrity and like rude to celebrity. It's you. Yeah. You're the problem when it came to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so,
but up to this point, that doesn't mean that she didn't feel uncomfortable on the film.
Right. What I found interesting is that a lot of people who have suffered from domestic violence that we even know in our lives and that I'm seeing on TikTok are coming out and saying, wait till you hear everything, because I am someone who went through that and I've never acted how Blake Lively has acted. And they're like following the thing. So I just thought that was an interesting take from someone who's been through it. But so December 27th, Ryan Reynolds hints at difficult time in his first post since Feud became public. And side note, Blake Lively said negative press also affected her husband, Ryan, whom she married in 2012, and their 4 children.
Yeah,
and
because people started digging into like how crazy he is, and everyone's like, ew, like this couple is not it, you know? And like that happens. It's like you love someone because they like play your favorite character. Like
I mean, what does he play aside from Deadpool? Like he's never had a good movie.
I mean, I feel like he's had like that one movie with Sandra Bullock.
Oh yeah, the I like that Sandra Bullock movie, but like he's just like, he doesn't have serious movies. They're all like cheesy movies,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Like I think, what was that? Is that Van Pool? I don't know. I never watched it, but like he was like, he's like one of those people who plays all the inappropriate roles. So I find that crazy that he's acting the way he's acting, and we'll find out why. Chanel, can you search Ryan Reynolds feud with Tim real quick? I think his name was Tim or Tim Miller. Yeah, search Tim Miller. So because it's so crazy because Tim Miller said Ryan Reynolds, and Chanel can find the direct quote, but in Deadpool 2, Ryan Reynolds made Tim Miller feel so small.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds' possessiveness drove him to leave the franchise.
Yeah, well, there's a direct quote of what he says Ryan Reynolds said to him, like basically like you're not shit to this movie, and it made him say like he would never work with Ryan Reynolds again. And Ryan did end up emailing him once that went pub, and he wasn't on Deadpool 3, by the way, after that. And Ryan did email him after and like did apologize about it. But that's my whole thing is like, look at you making someone feel so shitty, and then look at this situation here, like. I don't know. It just made me, like the people that you're not like innocent here. You're not like innocent that you should be doing all that you're doing right now. But I don't know if you got the quote. If not, it's okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So anyways, okay. So Ryan, he doesn't address it directly, but he hinted at a difficult time in the past, which saw him appear in character as the Marvel anti-hero for a short clip that co-starred Wonder Woman actor Linda Carter. And in the caption, he suggested that the recent experiences had eaten away at him, calling it a time where he really didn't feel like putting the suit on. And I want you guys to hold on. I'm going to share this clip at the end because again, TikTok is crazy. A clip has surfaced of Ryan Reynolds allegedly poking fun at Justin Baldoni in a deleted scene from Deadpool of a new character. This was all in the deleted scenes called Nice Pool. And it's like a guy and it's Ryan Reynolds and he's wearing a man bun. And he talks about how he's a feminist and and he has a podcast, all the stuff that Justin Baldoni says. So, and then he even brings up an intimacy coordinator, which is part of Blake Lively's lawsuit. So I'm going to let you guys listen to that because it's crazy. Because it's all so much. Okay. January 1st, Justin Baldoni sues the New York Times for $250 million. And in it claims Ryan Reynolds aggressively berated him. Justin Baldoni and 9 other plaintiffs, included publicists Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, brought a $250 million lawsuit against the newspaper alleging libel and false light invasion of privacy. The lawsuit was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court and claims that the Times reporting cherry-picked and altered communications stripped of necessary context and deliberately spliced to mislead. So in one of the text messages, the publicist is being sarcastic. They only show 2 or 3 of the lines, and then they don't show everything else. And then in one of the texts, they put a sarcastic emoji face, like, that smiley face, like looking upside up.
Yeah.
That.
Smiley face.
Yes. Okay. So the New York Times or Blake, who, obviously Blake gave it to the New York Times, they remove that emoji when they give it to the New York Times.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
So to mislead, and to kind of make it sound even worse. And then they don't put the full context. Like they would put one paragraph of what someone said. And then there would be a couple other responses. They won't put that. Then they would put another response. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
you need like the full text messages always.
Yeah. So Justin Baldoni released all the full text is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, so a lot of people who I've talked about with this case, as to why Justin is suing New York Times,
and not Blake.
Yes, well, he is going to sue Blake, but New York Times, again, we talk about this. They removed their paywall. A complaint isn't supposed to go public, and that just means that New York Times received it directly, and that's how they were able to publish it. They also sent the story to Justin at 9:45 p.m. on Friday evening, giving him only until noon the next morning to respond before they release it. Some people are sleeping at 9:45 p.m., which means they wouldn't even have time to check that, contact their attorney. Their attorney's not working. Like some people, are like, hey, we're not going to be on our phones past this time. Like, let's just, we're with our families. Some people don't even check emails. So they gave him until noon the next day. So they were intentionally being messy and kind of silencing Justin. And I just feel like if what Blake Lively is saying is true, we don't need to silence him. What's also crazy is that they didn't even hold him until they didn't even, wait till noon. They released it at 10 a.m. instead of publishing it at noon like they said they were going to.
Wow.
Yeah, which is so like shady. So let's get into Justin's lawsuit, okay? So a lot of Justin's lawsuit is in response to what Blake is saying, okay? So Justin claims Blake used sexual harassment allegations as a manipulative tactic to assert control over their production while deflection attention from her public missteps. I will say I was surprised to see her say the sexual harassment stuff because there was also a paparazzi video of Blake. Chanel, I think you saw it where she is showing Justin how to hold her tightly and like pushing him aggressively towards her because she feels like he's not doing it. And you could tell he's like a little uncomfortable in it. And she's showing him how to get close to her. So I'm thinking, okay, do you not realize that video was out there and you look very dominant in that you don't look like you've been someone who was harassed, but I mean, I could be wrong. So Justin says, the issue was never about sexual harassment, but that Blake was trying to take over the film and used Ryan Reynolds to do this. So we're going to cover Justin's response to, again, Blake Lively's lawsuit, where I told you about the emoji. So I'm going straight to the lawsuit right now so that I have everything.
Wasn't it one thing that she wanted was to have like the producer? It was like it was not just
yeah. Yep. Yeah. We're going to talk about that. That's later on in the lawsuit. So, okay, Justin, so in the text that Blake released, Justin shows the full text and then her version so that you could compare it. And the full version, they literally, like I said, they cut out pieces. The lawsuit says, in the CRD complaint, Lively deliberately excluded not only the preceding screenshot of the text exchange, disproving Nathan's involvement in the story, but also the sarcastic emoji, which fundamentally alters the sarcastic tone of Abel's message and misleads the reader into interpreting her. So, there was like a thing that these PR people are sending to each other. And it was an article that said, could Blake Lively be canceled? And Jen Abel responds and she's like, wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece and put the sarcastic face. And then Melissa, the other PR, says, that's why you hired me, right? I'm the best. And then she says, heading to the airport, there's drive through the jungle, blah, blah. And then they kind of talk a little bit more. And you see in the text, Melissa says, this is really unfair though, because it's also not me. Everything now looks like it's me, maybe not to you. And then they say, no, it totally does look like it. I'm sorry, that's a conversation with, Melissa and Jen. So then they, again, show that was excluded into it. And then what was included, just to show that they were being sarcastic about this conversation and they're annoyed that they're getting blamed, that they're the ones putting this out there. So that was one of the things. Now I'm going to refer to page 12 of the lawsuit. I literally went into the lawsuit. So what I find most interesting in this whole thing is that what we find is that, when you think of TMZ and TMZ says sources say, I mean, and we're kind of in this industry, so we get it too. But when TMZ says sources say, do you think that it's always like a source, like a friend of, or who do you think the source is?
The PR.
Okay. Yes. And that's
I know that because of something. And it's like, like when it's certain publications, like I know this for Taylor, for example, her publicist Tree Payne, like I know every single time it's her because like they'll say sources say, and it's always that person. It's her publicist.
Yes, exactly. So we find that out in these because you see all the conversations between TMZ and between the PR people. So, and like how TMZ will be like, hey, this site is telling me this. Do you want to respond to it? Yep. And it's like, okay, well, clearly they're fucking PR. You're asking us as our PR.
Isn't journalism 101 like isn't it like a thing that they have to ask for someone else's like response before?
Yeah, it is like the ethical thing to do. Yeah. Not everyone does it, but especially if it's like something like against
like
not true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like, for example, because a lot of the lawsuit with Blake, she's accusing them of like buying bots or something. So there was like this article,
not the bots.
Yeah, that I hate when people do that.
Yeah, like not the bots.
Because people do that with us where they're like, you're getting paid to say this opinion. I'm like, no, we're not. We're not getting paid to say this opinion. We report on The Real Housewives. This is just our opinion. And if we're biased, but it's our opinion. No one's paying us to do that. So you see a text of Justin Baldoni sending to his PR people. And he's like, hey, I don't know what it was. It was like an article, but he's like, hey, this is not correct. I'm just assuming the guy we brought in would never do this. And it was like a takedown article about Blake Lively. And he wanted to make sure that their PR wasn't doing this to Blake. And Melissa, the PR person, said, none of us would ever do this. Also, no, and it was from Perez Hilton. So look what she says. She says, also, no one even pays attention to this person talking about Perez Hilton past 2005. He's not relevant. He does not create a news headline. He does not get picked up. He's just now a troll. There is not one outlet that would cover anything he said or take it seriously, which is so crazy because he really was canceled and he really doesn't. But he has gotten big on TikTok, but still people don't.
I saw him a couple times.
Yeah. And then Melissa says, I think as well, there's a struggle where it kind of maybe even unbelievable the way that people are turning it against her, but but it's all organically. It's organic. She's blown herself up by her own actions. And, then she says, okay, so then there's like a title where it says Unearth Blake Lively interview show that her use of slur for trans people, like, damn, like I'm telling you, famous, like everything's going to come out. And so Melissa says, this just ran. Obviously, none of us knew about this either, but once media goes in, they go in. And the best thing we can do right now is be quiet. Let's get through this week together, then just move on and back to regular planning with Instagram posts and thoughtful ideas and messages. The content creators are on fire. And Justin, she has handed it to them all on a plate. Just concentrate on the success of the movie, your family, and your next project. I have this weird feeling that she's going to reach out to you for a conversation in the next couple of weeks, or he will. So that is what, and I think she was talking about Ryan Reynolds. So that is like the text message because he's showing all the texts coming out because he wants
his like PR.
Yeah, he wants everyone to see the full context and stuff. There was like also another text with like Leslie Sloan, and Leslie Sloan actually was once backed by Harvey Weinstein, and she works with Blake Lively, and which is so crazy because Blake Lively at one point defended Harvey Weinstein. Which is like a crazy thing. There was like more text about that. And then I'm trying to find a TMZ. There was like a TMZ one that I want us to talk about. Okay, so TMZ. So they send the PR people like something to see if it's true. And she's like, no, not true. And TMZ says, I figured I got some video from May 17th of Blake and Justin on set in Hoboken. They are in an animated conversation. So I wanted to see if they wanted to give any background or context between us. The video isn't really great, mostly doing because of all the speculation about the feud. And then Melissa says, it's not even between us, LOL. It's I don't know what that says. It was like a circle that crossed off. And then it says TMZ, people's story about JB false about cast crew hating him. We are told that the cast and crew find Justin to be a really nice guy. Don't take as harsh of sides behind the scenes as it's being reported. At this point, we're told it's being milked for publicity. This is TMZ telling the PR this. And he's saying, it sounds like Justin's over it. It really was a creative difference between Blake and Justin, but wasn't nearly as bad as reported. Blake's huge ego is the reporting. So that's what they're saying. And then TMZ says, people's story about JB false about cast and crew hating him. We're told that cast and crew find, okay, so I read that part. And she says, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in a hurricane. He says, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I just ate a poke bowl. Like, what the fuck, TMZ and PR people? I can't.
I know.
And then she's like, she says, do you have sources? Blake Lively can't keep thinking it's us placing and we're doing all of this. He's like, yes, I have sources on production. They've had a producer working overtime and spoke to people. And I found that to be really interesting. And they say they spoke to production and post. And then she's like, okay, well, wait till I tell you the whole story. And he's like, we're legit saying sources are saying that it's all Blake's ego. And she's like, you have no idea. You think you do, you do not. In my whole career, I've never come across a situation. He's like, but then why aren't people saying the real story? If known, can I call you back? So that's literally the TMZ conversation and the Justin's PR person. What do you think about that?
I just think that I do from what you've been saying, that is that Their PR people.
Chantel's eating, you guys.
No, I was like sucking on ice because I was like,
Yes.
I had water and I put ice in my mouth. But like, I do feel that like Justin's PR team was like, they were like living on the moment that this was all happening. Like they were happy about it and they were capitalizing on it.
I think that they were absolutely happy about it because they didn't really have to do their job because everyone else was doing it for them. So.
Yeah. And I don't think they did anything wrong. I just think that this was what's happening. And like, they kind of have to go with the narrative of what's happening with, like, with TikTok and like what's like, they're getting paid to do that. This is their job.
Yeah. And the thing is, we haven't seen anything with Blake Lively and her PR. So we don't know how that went about.
Well, her PR team was trying to say like, let's stay quiet and let's do this.
But they weren't staying quiet. No, I don't think that's the thing at all, because all the stories that were coming out on TMZ during the premiere were stories about Justin fat shaming Blake Lively, and that's why they don't get along. That came from Blake because it's in her lawsuit. So they weren't staying quiet. They were just doing it. Blake was getting so much backlash. Of course, she herself is going to stay quiet. And just like a month before that, she had like mocked Kate Middleton, who had cancer. So
I want to get into like why we think that. Like I want to hear the side from like why we think like that there was a complaint made on set during filming. Like why was all this happening? Because like that does go and show something was going down that she felt uncomfortable.
Okay, so they respond to Blake Lively's claim of sexual harassment against the producer Heath, who works with Justin. And the lawsuit says, for example, the article based on Blake's CRD complaints sensationally alleges that Mr. Heath had shown Blake a video of his naked wife, with Blake's CRD complaint even labeling the footage as pornography. This claim is patently absurd. This video in question was a non-pornographic recording of Heath's wife and baby during a home birth, a deeply personal one with no sexual overtone. To distort this event into an act of sexual misconduct is outrageous, and it shows the lengths to which Blake and her collaborators are willing to go to defame plaintiffs.
That's crazy though. That's really crazy.
Yeah. And that's kind of like shitty because like, you know, people like husbands could be proud of, you know, a moment like when they gave birth, and Blake has 4 kids herself. Like she, you know, gets it. So for her to be like
in the movie, she's giving birth to their kid.
Exactly. So for her to act like, oh my God, I'm uncomfortable and make it a sexual thing, it's concerning to me that Blake is doing that.
I mean, if someone was trying to show me like a video, like I've already had 4 kids. If I was Blake and someone's trying to show me a video, I would think that's weird. It is weird, but I would never think that it's pornographic.
But the reason that he was doing it, and we'll later talk about it, was because to talk about the scene that she does when she gives birth. So that's why it got brought up, and he did it in front of another person. So the lawsuit says the Times' failure to scrutinize these claims or even provide a balanced account of the events further underscores its role in amplifying Blake's falsehoods while abandoning its responsibility to truth and accuracy. The video was shown to Blake as part of a creative discussion in preparation for a birthing scene in the film. Heath informed Lively that his wife condoned his displaying the video. Any suggestion that Heath engaged in pornography or inappropriate content is false. And that to me is what the problem is she's listing it as pornography and inappropriate content. And it's like, your husband is one of the most inappropriate humans alive. Okay? Prior to Deadpool and being married, he would say the most off the wall shit ever. Like, you should not be going here before. She is very lucky that people have not yet pulled up Ryan Reynolds' past interviews. She's very lucky. Adding to the sexual harassment narrative is the article's parroted accusation that both men repeatedly entered her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding. What Blake and the article failed to mention is that Blake invited Baldoni into her trailer while pumping to work out their lines. So then we go to page 25 of his lawsuit, and let's read the text. So it says, Blake, okay, so on May 26, 2023, she had just started filming. It says, Blake, I'm so sorry to hear you and the baby are sick. Heartbroken heart. I know it's literally the last thing you needed right now on top of a tough week. I pray it comes and goes with mild symptoms, and more than anything, that he is okay. If you feel up for it, I'm here absolutely anytime and would love to check in. I know this week was a lot, and I'm committed to making things run smoother across the board. Do you want to know what her response was, Shantel?
What?
She doesn't respond.
Oh, wow. When he says like this was a lot, like do you think like there was already like so much shit happening?
I don't know if there was I mean, they just started filming May 15th. I don't know. So in that week, I mean, it's like her first 2 weeks of filming and then her son is sick. And so they probably had to halt things, and her life is probably chaotic, like with a sick kid. So I have no idea. All I know is that she didn't respond. And that's really uncomfortable and really like rude behavior. So she doesn't respond. June 2nd, so this was, a week after, she says, our mistake. Molly did get the new pages at 11 p.m. last night. She didn't realize they were new because this means she obviously was like to Justin, where the hell is this, blah, blah. She's like, but new pages can always be sent to me as well, please. And then she puts an X. Like an X means like hugs, whatever. And then June 3rd, 2023, I'm just pumping in my trailer if you want to work out our lines.
Oh my gosh.
So Justin responds, copy. I'm eating with the crew and I will head that way. A director eating with the crew, you guys, that is not very common. Okay. And then she says, take your time. He's like, I'm here. I'll meet you in, I don't know what this means. H/MU. What does that mean? I don't know.
Hot minute. I don't know.
And then Blake says, sorry, I'm just seeing this. And then it goes like, here's a shorter version of Christy's original, and that is unrelated. So yeah, okay, that's one. So that she's saying that they entered her room. This is like proof that, and it could have been another time that he entered the room. This is proof that she seemed very open to have him there.
She's not uncomfortable with someone seeing her breastfeed, and like she just finds it okay.
Yeah. So remember in her lawsuit, she said that he would describe her character attire as sexy. So then Justin shows a text exchange between Justin and Blake where Blake is talking about what is sexy. Okay. So on May 17th, she says, I just texted and this also. We'll show you both ways, but beanies is much sexier. It's the looks. Feels TV without, especially without a crop top in the snow. It justifies the rest of the skin and also is a girl I would check out walking down the street because it washes the effort of the rest of the look. So here is Blake talking about what is sexy after complaining about Justin doing that. And then there was like a May 18th text where it says, good morning. If you don't have time to listen with morning craziness, here is text. Just want to make sure, okay, with throwing the jacket on from yesterday morning or putting it in yours. I want to line up a shot and see if I can just use a piece of the shoulder for the establishing shot, the old cafe. And then he goes, I might not need it, but just want to cover. See you soon. She says, if it's just her shoulder, no problem. It's her body or head, etc. Then it should be me. So they're talking about a stunt double. And then she goes, I was wondering about not having that shot, but kept to myself. He goes, yeah, well, we just ran out of time. So this is where she's like, so she's obviously annoyed that they were going to use a stunt double for the shoulder thing. And so he says, yeah, we ran out of time. I want to line it up with the shoulder. And if it doesn't work, then when you're dressed, we'll figure it out. By the way, if you're ever wondering if we have a shot or need one, I don't ever feel it's overstepping if you bring it up to me. FYI, Brandon just landed. We're talking character, no one waiting. She goes, mortified. They dropped me off at the flower shop. I was in the wrong spot. So like, they're fine. And I don't know. What do you think about that text exchange?
Yeah, I think that everything is normal. Like nothing is crazy to like warrant, I think, anything that has happened.
Yeah. Okay. So Justin now responds to the unwanted kissing and him discussing his sex life in the lawsuit. It says, in Justin's lawsuit, both the Times and Lively.
Thank God they've kept these text messages. Like, do you think you'd have kept these text messages?
Actually, Shantel, I do keep all my texts from like back in the day. I do. And I'm so happy I did. And this is a lesson to all of us to do that, especially when you have like a gut feeling about someone and you're just not meshing well with someone. Absolutely keep the text. And I do. That's why my phone is like slow half the time because I have texts from like 2019, 2018.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Do you? You don't. You delete everything.
Well, no, I keep, it depends, but like, yeah, like, because I've had like issues with storage, so I delete stuff. But like, I just
our conversation all the time because I always ask you to send me something, and you're like, I deleted it.
Well, we talk so much shit, so like, yeah, I delete our text messages.
Yeah, that's good that you do that. Yeah,
like no one has time for like my husband to be going through my text messages here.
So scary, 100%. So Justin responds to the unwanted kissing and him discussing his sex life in the lawsuit. And it says, both the Times and Blake intentionally excluded that Blake refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator to plan out the film's sex scenes, because Blake in interviews during press said, we didn't even have an intimacy coordinator. And she made it like a big deal.
Wait, so is this like a thing that every movie has like an intimacy coordinator?
Yes. Unless like everyone agrees not to, but there was a movie recently where they did agree not to, but people like still think like, I mean, who the fuck are we to know about like intimacy coordinators? If people are comfortable, they're comfortable. But I mean, yeah, to kind of save face on this, then yeah. So Justin in turn was forced to meet with the intimacy coordinator alone and relay any suggestions to Blake separately. Notwithstanding Justin's reluctance, he and Blake would later sketch out the scenes together absent the intimacy coordinator. As part of those creative discussions, Justin and Blake sought to personalize and develop their characters, and in doing so, engage in conversation about their individual experiences. The Times, taking Lively's CRD complaint as true, characterizes this discussion as an inappropriate attempt by Justin to talk about his sex life, and it was not. More still, Justin consistently acted as the direction of the intimacy coordinator. These baseless accusations do not constitute sexual harassment. And then we get the text message.
Wait, real quick though, it's not like we're sitting here at a job and like we're like, typing up Excel sheets and PowerPoints, and all of a sudden like my coworker is like, do you want to hear about my sex life? Like, that's fucking weird. Like, you guys are in a movie having sex and having to talk about those things. Like, I don't understand how that's like, I don't know, maybe there's rules about this in movies.
No,
but
you think Blake Lively would act like this with Michael Bay, with Quentin Tarantino, Tim Burton, Steve Spielberg? Do you think she would act like this and be like, if they're talking about these scenes, do you think she'd be questioning them? Fuck no, she wouldn't. Like, I honestly think that he was too nice and she overstepped and he let it. That is my opinion. Whatever you say, I don't care. That's my opinion based on me reading this. You guys have an opinion, and that's okay. And it can be different, but that I stand still on that they kind of looked at him as a joke, to be honest. When people take advantage of someone's like weakness or niceness, that's what I think happened here. So the text message shows Justin Baldoni, texting Blake saying, I just hired an intimacy coordinator who I love. I will set you up to meet FaceTime with her next week for an intro. So even if she doesn't win, she seemed very distracted, and probably because she had her fourth kid like 6 months before that. I don't know. She seemed distracted, but it's like, don't sign up for this then. And then Blake responds, hey, I feel good. I can meet with her when we start. No, so she's saying no need to meet now, like before we start filming. And then she goes, thank you though. And here he is like over communicating, telling her. And then like you have that shoulder scene where he talks about like, hey, she's like, I was wondering why I wasn't told about the shoulder scene. Well, you seem very standoffish when he does tell you things. So he sends that now to one of like the female producers, and he's like, hey, I just want to tell you about this. Seems like she doesn't want to meet the intimacy coordinator until we start, which may mess up the workflow, but I can still meet with her, of course. And the female producer says, that's fine if she doesn't want to meet her now. You'll just have to walk her through what you and intimacy producer coordinator are thinking. And then he put a thumbs up. What do you think about that?
Still very normal to me. Like nothing is screaming like awkward or weird right now.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're getting along. So nothing is like, oh, this seems like she's being like, even her, like maybe that's just her style. Like nothing seems like weird off of these exchanges.
Yeah. So despite its effort to craft a distorted narrative, the Times fails to address a glaring contradiction in Lively's CRD complaint. After the execution of the protections for return to production agreement in November 2023, Blake herself acknowledges that the film was completed, marketed, and released safely and successfully, which is going to bite her in the ass. While Wayfarer, Baldoni, and Heath disagreed with Lively's rationale for requesting the document, many of its provisions were already standard practice. They chose to comply for the sake of the film and to ensure Blake's comfort. So everything she wanted, they were just like, all right, let's just do it. Crucially, Blake concedes that neither Justin or Heath engaged in any harassing behavior following the agreement in November 2023. Furthermore, she admits that her stated concerns were sufficiently addressed at the time. This admission directly undermines her allegations of retaliation and strips her claims of credibility. Without the fabricated smear campaign narrative propping up her CRD complaint, Blake's retaliation claim collapses under its own contradictions, exposing it as yet another ploy to salvage her public image rather than pursue any legitimate grievance. The fact is that Blake embarked on a embarks on a hostile takeover of the production, strong-arming Sony into blessing her with ultimate control. As they became increasingly frantic and unsettled by Blake's roles, Justin remained resolute that they continue to take the high road, and even said this, and there's text of him saying that, like, let's just take the high road and be proud of the beautiful baby they had all made together. Blake waged war on Baldoni, weaponizing interactions from May and June, long before there was any tension between them, to vilify and discredit him. At the time, Justin and Blake had a solid working relationship and lively expressed no unease. Only after the writer's strike had ended and filming was set to resume did Blake express any concern returning to set. In response, Wayfarer and Justin agreed to all of Lively's demands. So we get another text. And we're going to talk about this a little bit after too, but it says, here's a text of Justin saying,
how long was the difference, like from May to November?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it says, Justin says to the editor, hey, just curious if you guys peeked at her cut and if anything has changed. Editor number 2 says, I have been told that we're not permitted to look. And Justin says, wow, when did that happen? And editor number 1 says, as per Sony. And then editor 2 says, this evening. And Justin says, wow, okay. The editors and director isn't allowed to look at an actress's cut. Got it. Well, here we go. We'll just keep taking the high road. I want you guys to understand something. I looked this up. And also a director who won a Golden Globe came out yesterday. And in his speech, he said this. Well, this is about the final cut, but I looked it up and there is no such thing as a director not being allowed to look at an actor's cut. Like there's no such thing. That's never been a thing. So again, I think that Justin was just like too nice initially and it was taken advantage of because this is like unheard of in the industry.
And I think what he really wanted was just to have this movie made. Like he didn't want anything to like make it not be, done.
About like, what it is. Oh, well, yeah, that too.
Yeah. Like he just wanted it to be done. Like he's like, okay, like let's just get it. Let's just put this out there now.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So, Blake makes a cut of the film. This is made by her. And keep in mind, this is not normal, okay, for a producer to do this.
Like,
and then,
what does that mean? Like she
the
just
final cut. Like
you make the scene?
Like a final cut of like what the film is going to look like at the end.
Okay.
So she does the final cut. And again, he's not allowed to look at it. Then Justin has a final cut, as the director does, that he made. And he's thinking he's going to be in the final cut. And Justin's final cut, both of their, cuts get submitted, and Justin Baldoni's cut of the movie scored way higher with the audience and the film's demographic. Blake initially made it like if her cut scored higher, she would probably fight for her cut, but she would back off if Justin's cut scored higher. So they find out Justin's cut is scored higher, and she changes her mind and says that her cut will be released to the public. And if Blake didn't get her way, Blake said that both she and Colleen would refuse to promote the film. So because of this pressure of that, Sony and Wayfarer agreed to let Blake Lively have her cut be the final cut. Again, this is unheard of. So when, again, a director won the Golden Globes, I'm sure a lot of you guys saw this, and he said in his speech yesterday at the Golden Globes, I want you guys to know that the final cut always goes to the director. This should never be controversial.
Wow.
Yes. So let's read the more text messages that came out. Editor 1 said, hey, I'm just checking in. I hope you're hanging in there. We're going to get through this, damn it. Justin Baldoni says, thanks for checking in. I've sat with it, and I think the best path forward spiritually and what's best for the movie is that I suck it up and I let her in. I've sent a message requesting that it start on the 18th, and then we would just let her in until she leaves, and then her cuts and updates throughout the process. I'll let you guys know what she says. Thanks for being awesome, dream team. And then editor 2 says, we got you. I think that sounds like a very good plan on all fronts. And he says, we made a beautiful baby together. The baby might not grow up tone exactly who we thought, but it's still beautiful. That's what I'm holding on to. I'm very proud of us. And then editor 1 says, wow, I can't say I'm shocked because I was hoping that you were going to be able to not let this beat you down. And it sounds like you have achieved that. And yes, the movie we handed her was so good that even if it's been screwed with, the base work will still shine through. The last I heard was that she was putting back a fair amount of our version, just not sure what that entailed or what to extent. I guess you'll find out today. Hang in there and we'll all catch up when the wounds are not quite as fresh. Sending love to you both. So it's really sad, dude. Like it really is sad because again, this was something he's been passionate about for 5 years. So it's a really shitty thing. And what they're referring to, and it does talk about it more later in on the lawsuit, is that there is a cut where like the director does by themselves, and it like actresses are forbidden to be in it, and she demanded that she joins it for 2 days.
Wow.
So yeah. So okay, here's where things get interesting. Okay. So they give Blake Lively I think hold on, I just want to make sure I read the text from page. Oh yeah, okay. So there's another text where it says from one of the PR, it says, "Hey, Jamie, just filled me in about BookCon. I know this is devastating. It's such a kick in the gut. It's petty and childish at this point." And this was, I can't read the date though. It looks like it was like in June, if I'm correct. But I don't know if it's 2024. I can't see it. It says, "Eye on the prize. Her attending BookCon is a win for the film ultimately. And if she wants to drag her ass to Texas, then let her. You can be home with your family, which is important." He's like, and then Justin responds, "She's kicked me out officially from the film now. She's finishing it all. I can't be involved. Music, sound, VFX, everything. I'll make it through somehow. I just need to feel it all." So she took over all the music. She took over really kind of like everything. Which is
like using her power and her status to scare the production or Sony and say like, if I'm not going to promote it, and they need her promoted because this movie has costed a lot of money now at this point. So it's like, we need to make our money back. It's all a business at the end of the day.
Yeah. So Justin texts the dream team, which is his editors, and he says, "Hey, Blake wants to know when you would be there next week." Editor 2 says, "I can fly on Sunday or Monday, up to you guys." And then Justin says, "Would you prefer to be there or edit from home?" And editor 2 says, "I honestly don't have a preference." And editor 1 says, "And so it begins." And Justin says, "We could push for you to stay home. It's up to you." Like he's all about like making people feel comfortable. Editor number 2 is like, "Both have pros and cons. I want Blake to feel like she's getting what she wants so we can move on from this need of hers." And then Justin said, "For the record, she's been getting what she wants this entire movie." And then editor 2 says, "I understand." And Justin says, "And she's getting to edit, which is what she wants. Let's remember that." And editor 2 says, "Yes. And yet, ... And then Justin says, "True." And editor 2 says, "I don't want to give her any opportunity to say, well, because blank was in LA, we could only work certain hours. So I need more time and I didn't really get what I needed," or whatever it may be, which is smart. Cause like, if he does say like, I was at home, like Blake could have turned that opportunity to be like, well, they weren't even around. Justin says, "Well, point is, if you feel it's best and you want to go there, no problem at all. And also if you would like to stay home, that's something that we can say. I just want you to do what's best for you." Okay. So that's that. So, just so you guys know, they, okay. And then here's another text. I'm so sorry. So so Justin says they're showing the book. They're showing it at Book Bonanza. Editor number 2 says the whole movie. And then Justin says, "Yep, her version." Editor number 1 says, "Wow." And then Justin says, "Was supposed to be hours. And then I was invited. Whole thing is pretty cruel and intense." Editor number 1 says, "Unfucking believable." Editor number 2 says, "I'm so sorry, Justin." Justin responds, "I love you both." And then do you know what I would be saying in these text messages, you guys? I would be saying, fuck her family. Like I would be going off. Like this is like, he's handling this way too well. Cause how would you react to this, Shantel?
Yeah. So like, basically it's like he did all these things and then he doesn't even get like his final version. It's all her final version and whatever she wants. Like that would make me go crazy.
Yeah. And then like editor number 1 says, I just hope you
regardless if her feeling uncomfortable on set or whatever has happened, like that's just wild.
So Justin says, editor number 1 says, "I just hope you love, at least can stomach the cut that is going out to the world." He's like, "Well, I haven't seen it, so I can't say." And I'm just like, what the fuck? You guys, this is literally unheard of for a director. So I'm like, I cannot believe this. Like, I cannot believe this. None of this makes sense. So they give Blake Lively a producer credit, and she was like, "I also want a PGA mark, and that is Producers Guild of America. It's a big deal. The PGA's producer mark is a certification process that serves to identify which producers perform the majority of the producing functions on a movie picture in a decision-making capacity." So at this point, Justin and Wafer didn't feel she earned that mark based on the requirement, but she demanded that Justin, Heath, and other producers and department heads send letters to the PGA in support of the PGA mark. And they actually did. They did not want to, but they did. Sony and other parties did submit letters of support. They sent a letter because of her demands. And let me read to you the letter that Jamie Heath sent. And because he wanted to document everything. He didn't even know this was going to happen, but he's like, we had to send this letter. And later on, you'll find out that she said that their business relationship is over had they not done this. So they do send it in support of Blake, but they also at the same date send an email to the attorney and says, "Hi everyone, this is from James Heath." And he says, "I'm writing to you all regarding a letter that I wrote on behalf of Justin and myself, addressing to their Producers Guild." He's like, "As you know, we received a request to write a recommendation on behalf of Blake for her to move to receive the PGA mark. This was a request that we feel was unreasonable and cold-hearted. Essentially, the movie has been taken unjustifiably from Justin as a director and essentially from Wayfarer's control due to the extortion of Blake." And I also think with this, they're basically saying, like, if we give you the PGA, it means like you did more than us, and this is our movie. This is our baby. Anyway, so he says to his attorney, without going into all the details of the events that transpired over the month, Justin and I ended up agreeing to write the letter due to feeling trapped. She continues to hold a threat over our head, and every time we try and hold a line, she uses the threat directly or indirectly for us to fold. Make no mistake, I'm not suggesting that we were literally forced to do this, but given the high profile of the movie, the partnership with Sony, the amount of money invested, and the need to complete the movie, we have written the letter on her behalf, omitting the truth of why she was able to contribute the ways that were listed. There's nothing to do with this letter now. It only serves as a way to memorize why this letter was sent in the first place, should we ever need to explain it. How fucking crazy is that? And it was sent the same day that they sent the letter recommending Blake, because they wanted to be like, this is something that we absolutely don't agree with and don't want to do.
That is insane.
Yeah.
For someone to have like that forefront of like, be like, let's do this. Let's make sure we know.
So Chantel's best friend Talia has been like asking us about this. So I am so excited for her to listen to this portion.
Okay, there's no way she's gonna be listening to all of this.
You don't think she is? I think she will.
Maxine, it's an hour and 17 minutes so far. Aren't you tired?
Well, we're gonna cut it in two, so it's fine. It is a lot, but I mean, it's crazy. I'm sorry, there's so much to it. Okay. Be sure to tune into part 2 to hear how Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively have reacted to each other's filing and what's next for the two. Plus, we get into Ryan Reynolds' involvement and how power plays a major factor in Hollywood. Part 2 is available now.